So Josh Crash Hour, does it annoy you to have the same name as a prominent journalist who may not share your views?
Okay, I was not told this was going to be an ambush.
This is an ambush. I'm a
Uh,
journalist and we're going to get to the truth.
I thought this was going to be a softball interview. I'm out. I'm done. But
I really am offended that you would even say that I would give you a softball interview.
yeah, I'm sorry for questioning your journalistic integrity, I guess. Yes, it actually does piss me off a lot. I've had like old landlords like text me and ask if I'm that Josh Kraushar, and I have no idea why. Like after I moved out of their place, it makes my life a living hell to know that like once a month someone will ask if I'm that guy.
And you know, why? Is it bad? What's wrong with him?
So he is just like the most like he's almost a parody of sort of like a centrist dunce is what I would say about him. Like he's one of the only people who's lost a debate to like, Nate Silver. Um like he's just like I don't even know. He's got kind of almost like a timeless quality to him of just being like a complete and utter like fucking moron. Like anything he says is either like kind of pointless or vapid. And he's not even like a big he's like at the very like bottom of like the trough of like the pundit ecosystem. Like he doesn't have like a show, like people barely know him, he barely exists. It's like shocking that his career continues to exist outside of just like the inertia that the whole industry is kind of based off of once you like make it to a certain point. But he's like he's like an almost a nobody, but he still ruins my name. It's not even like he's like a big he's not even big enough that people realize immediately that I'm not that Josh Kraushar.
Well, if he's a nobody, then today we have a somebody.
Oh.
Who let the hogs out?
This is Hog Planet. I'm Dan Spaventa. Sam is absent today. He's in LA, the COVID capital of America. I don't know if that's really true. I think Florida's worse, I think, but what do I know? No, Louisiana's really bad. So today, you may have heard him before. I'm joined by the other Josh Kraushauer,
Hello.
my friend Josh.
Hello.
So Josh, we have a lot to discuss today, but you were hesitant to come on the podcast and then you said, I'll do it. Now, what prompted the change? Because you're one of the more knowledgeable people I know about the topics Sam and I discuss. So what is the hesitancy to wade into this medium?
So I think the thing is, you asked me a year ago when I was substantially less involved in a lot of politics. Like I was doing a little bit of this and that, but I wasn't like super active. I didn't feel that I was like at a level where I could comment on anything with any degree of insight. And I've been like very active in a lot of spheres in New York City for like a year and feel like not really like the top most qualified person, but like I know the scene enough to actually talk about it without making like an ass of myself, essentially.
Well, good. And you definitely won't do that today. Definitely
Don't
not.
I would not don't get your hopes up on that point.
But yeah, so one thing that you are involved with is the DSA EcoSocialist group. That's your latest project that you talk a lot about. So I know a bit about it, but
Yeah, I
why don't
never
you
shut up
tell
about it.
why don't you tell the listeners what I don't know what because I feel like people like say, oh, what's the point of joining a group like the DSA? And then it seems that the point is to maybe find one of these smaller groups and then get involved from there, right? It's like just kind of like trying to use it in a way that, I don't know, that like you think it's just gonna like provide a sort of like a righteous path for you, but instead you kind of have to like find it, right?
Can you? I'm a little lost at the question. I'm sorry. The
Yeah.
question kind of went like 3 different directions.
Yeah. So what's what's the benefit of joining these smaller caucuses in the DSA?
Well, it's
Sorry,
not.
Josh.
It's not. There are 3 different like main like groups of DSA. There's like chapters or branches which are like location based. There's working groups which are cause based, and there's caucuses which are ideological. And this is extremely niche. I'm sorry. Getting into any like sub ideology like fight of DSA or any leftist organization is like a hellscape, which is best avoided.
It's also
But
kind of boring. It's also kind of boring and
yeah,
lame.
it's boring because you don't actually do in a caucus. You don't really do anything except like once every 2 years when they have like a convention. Like working groups are like actually working on causes. Caucuses are like
That's
not.
what I meant. Working groups.
No, I know. I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
thought
yeah.
I'd
Sorry, the
clarify that.
terminology was a
Yeah,
little off.
I was being a little anal, honestly. But so
I expected
the
this to be very contentious, so we're off to a great
yeah,
start.
yeah, we hate each other. So
Sorry,
basically
I didn't ask the best of questions. I didn't write anything down for this. I'm going off the dome here. I forgot even to put in my notes to talk about your your work here. So I'm glad I remembered it off the top here. So
yeah, the one thing you did remember was to ask me about the other Josh Crashar though, right off the bat with no
yeah,
hesitation before you even play the fucking Hog Planet banger theme.
yeah. Shout
Yeah,
out to Joe Bags,
absolutely great.
and you can find his music on SoundCloud at Bags. He's great. So yeah, what's your working group do, and what's your experience been kind of trying to navigate how to actually be proactive?
Sure. So our working group is, it's eco-socialist, or focused on green policy. Specifically, we're focused in like green policy. Mostly the work that we do is like fairly local, like a little bit of New York City stuff, but mostly like New York State, like fighting to get like green bills passed in the legislature. Our current bill that we tried to pass in 2021 is the Build Public Renewables Act, or I'll probably refer to it going forward as like the BPRA. And that would basically, I don't want to get too much in detail on that one. That would basically like take government agencies that already exist and empower them to invest very heavily in green energy, and kind of give us a focal point to build green energy in New York State, right? So we have been. Can you repeat the question again? I'm sorry, I'm losing my track. This is the
No,
first time
just
I've been on
like
podcast. I'm terrified.
how did you navigate kind of being proactive, and like what is the working group working on,
Sure.
some of the current projects that you were just describing?
Yeah. So BPRA is, I'll do what we're working on first, and then I'll go more into detail about my experiences as like an organizer, I think. So BPRA is the bill we tried to pass in 2021. That did not pass this year, despite being like revenue neutral and kind of a slam dunk. It's also the state government basically passed legislation like 2 years ago, the CLCPA, which is basically like a mandate to decarbonize by a certain amount of time. So it's basically the mandate that like New York is going to go green. It's like all our targets for like carbon, et cetera. But we haven't passed anything to that end yet. So a lot of climate activists, including NYC DSA EcoSoc, are broader. We have a whole coalition for this bill, Public Power Coalition, which is like over a dozen groups, half DSA, half not, across the state. So we thought that this year would be a good chance to pass climate legislation, but they didn't go for that. They also didn't go for any. There were like 2 other major climate bills. Though I believe the BPRA is, in my opinion, like the best one if you had to pick 3, but there are two other major ones, both of which had pretty significant backing through other parts of the climate movement in New York State, and neither passed. The Senate basically, the state Senate Assembly basically iced them out entirely. Like even ones that like seemed like they would have the votes to go forward if like pushed in the assembly, they just never actually brought them to a vote. Like we had a lot of assembly members and state senators say like, oh, like, yeah, I'll support this bill, but then they didn't actually vote on it. And this actually happened across, this was not just climate, this is also the New York Health Act, which would be basically Medicare for all for Medicare for all for New York. A lot of housing bills got passed. I think housing passed one or two nice bills. Like pretty much every major piece of legislation outside of like I think one housing bill and like legalizing weed got like totally shut out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Thanks for doing the important things. New York State government.
Yeah.
You know,
You
do
love
think,
to see it.
what do you think motivates people to kind of say they're gonna support your bill and then not?
So I think they don't want to be seen as opposing green legislation, but they also don't want to be responsible for passing it, essentially. I think it also, because it implies a certain amount of changes in the political order of New York State, I think. And I also think a little bit of its laziness. There was also a huge tax fight over the budget, and we actually like raised the budget and raised taxes for the rich in like a significant way for the first time in like decades, I think, in New York State. And so I think they saw that and just kind of said, okay, progressives got to win. That's all they need, and just kind of took it from there. So I just think they didn't feel like they had to, and they were also like they fundamentally don't really want to make these changes, especially because a lot of them get funding from like Con Ed and National Grid and other like dirty energy utilities.
Yeah, National Grid is like the bane of my existence, but and when I say that, I mean a company that I don't pay on time.
Wouldn't that be Con Ed if it's New York State or city?
No, I have National Grid for gas, I think.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Something else, but yeah, this is in Brooklyn, but
Yeah.
it's a fucking joke. And then these weird like green energy companies will try to like pitch you on their thing.
Those are ESCOs. So those are basically like I'm not the most well versed in ESCOs, but they are essentially like basically it's one big greenwashing effort. They kind of come in and they say like, oh, like, we'll sell you green energy, but they're pretty much directly connected to the broader like dirty energy efforts as everyone else. I actually wish I came prepared with all my notes on ESCOs. I always forget them because they're a really fascinating, like weird additional privatized corner of a very privatized energy system. But they are basically predatory bullshit.
Yeah. I know this because I signed up for one for a month and I like tripled the price.
Oh yeah, they're really dishonest.
But let's widen the lens here. So what what was your experience trying to like actually, because I know you started out, can we say that when we first started talking about politics, you were a little more in the like anarchist camp, I would say. That was years and years ago.
That was years ago.
What led to that turning into you being like a proactive member of a group like this?
So I don't think that necessarily. I think there's like a certain culture of anarchist online, which is like infuriating. But I don't think that anarchism or being an anarchist necessarily prevents you from like getting active in the DSA or other groups. But I do think that like a lot of the more pop or online anarchism you see is not very effective or doesn't really give you the tools to actually like begin to think about power or how you can change it. I think a lot of anarchism tends to like really does not like electoral work and really does not like legislative work, and focuses more on a dual power strategy, which is basically building your own institutions. And that I'm sympathetic to that, and I think in some ways that makes sense, but it's also tremendously difficult to do, like within capitalism. Like it's very difficult to create an economy within an economy. There's been centuries of trying and they all just get swallowed by the main economy eventually, because like the thing about capitalism is you can't really, there's some isolated incidents that have been isolated groups that are very successful, but you can't really fight it on its own grounds. You know, like it's just going to beat you. It's going to be able to lower prices relative to your venture. Like a point of the system is that like if you want to be competitive within it, you actually have to subscribe to the cruelty of it, because otherwise the people who are like people will make money off the cruelty and they'll outcompete you. So that's kind of what makes a dual power strategy of like starting up your own institutions or businesses to like start to like build your own money outside of like normal power centers kind of difficult. So I also increasingly have found that like electoral work and legislative work are effective in some ways. So obviously, the left is still, you know, like it's still fighting very difficult fights. Nina Turner actually tragically lost, mostly because like millions of dollars were pumped in that race and attack ads against her. So it's a very uphill battle. It's very difficult to do, but like when you win an election, it does provide like very meaningful advantages. Like AOC, you can say like AOC is a Dem sheepdog. You can definitely say AOC can be cringe sometimes, whatever. But like, she is also, I think, is part of the reason New York City DSA became as galvanized as it was, because it's like a tangible victory. And she also brought like Green New Deal, actually like a major talking point that like persists. She, in her own way, shifted the Overton window. So like her election, even though you know it's one congressperson out of over 500, didn't like change things or fix things. It's a notable improvement that can build off itself, you know. So I saw that and how that worked. And legislative work is honestly even harder. But like legislative work is if you have some electoral people in your corner, especially on the state level, you can actually start to get stuff passed. And we're kind of not quite, you know, in 2021 we were clearly not at that point. But if we were able to continue to build that, we actually could pass a lot of this. And the more that especially local politicians who have like a lot less money and support than like national ones, the more they fear for their office, the more they start to work with us, essentially. And this is also notably like this is how Republicans like won like all across the country during the Obama era, is they started with state senate and assemblies and local offices and like built up their power base in those until they controlled those states like overall, you know. Like
this would be the Tea Party.
Yeah, this is the Tea Party and like what came after it. Like they really focused on local governments. They had a successful theory of power, and it's easier for them because they've like, you know, billionaire money and their party is sympathetic rather than like super antagonistic to them net. But like they seized local governments and they slowly like changed them to be, you know, how they wanted it, which was crueler and like worse, but they like achieved massive power through that, you know. That is a strategy that can be strikingly effective. And I think that like those strategies are very useful to organize around, because like you're not going to win only off of them, but you can actually start to build power. And you can also like, there's nothing easier to recruit people for than electoral or legislative campaign, because it's something people immediately understand and can get involved with. So like you can recruit from a much wider base using those right off the bat. They're very easy, especially for newer chapters, to really start like pumping up members. They are a way to grow. And I think the more I saw that, and the more I saw like this specific electoral theory, which is not like electoralism is the keys to the kingdom, but the electoralism is one of many strategies to build power, and an especially useful one in early steps, I was a lot more swayed. You know, I think the arguments online tend to be very like whether or not electoralism is going to win everything for us, which is a dumb discussion, versus like, oh, electoralism is a legitimately very useful tool, which it is. So I think like the more I got involved, also that led to then even deeper involvement, because I start to see this theory of power, and I don't think it's as fully developed as it needs to be still to this day, but like a much more working and active and like trial and error applied theory of power than a lot of the other things you see. Like it's like there's a lot of things stacked against us. It is an uphill battle, but this is actually something, and we are accomplishing slowly and steadily something, with people who are like very committed to using whatever tools they have at maximum effectiveness. Yeah.
Well, I think maybe we drop a link in the description how to how to get
Sure.
involved in your working group if you would like to.
Sure. Let me drop two links. Should I just put them in the chat or should I give them to you after?
Just sending me in
Cool.
Slack or something. But
Do you mind if I take 1 minute to talk about our current campaign?
yeah, please.
Cool. So our public power campaign, which is the BPRA bill, we're going to resume that in 2022. So next year, the legislative session ends in like June, and then it's just out for the rest of the year. They may actually reconvene to get rid of Cuomo, but they're not going to pass bills. They're going to stay gone. So the window to pass stuff is very short, and it's essentially expired this year, which is why that campaign is inactive. Right now, what we're doing is the Green New Deal for public schools. This is actually being led by Jamaal Bowman, Congressman from Westchester, who, let me just say, is just rules, like is the real deal. I really strongly feel. And so basically it's part of the budget infrastructure fights. The goal is to get a significant amount of funding to basically like modernize and climate proof schools. So like actually have AC, because a lot of buildings don't. And as you get more extreme heat, those schools are going to become little brick ovens. So that, removing lead, other toxic chemicals, starting to actually transition a lot of these schools, because a lot of them do actually use a lot of energy. Buildings are like the #1 source of greenhouse gas emissions in New York City, for example. So converting those to green energy via solar panels and other systems, and just basically like make schools a little bit safer and better for the environment, and just like better for kids, which I think is something that everyone wants. So that is our current push. It's a bit temporary because the actual, this current legislative fight will be over in a few months. But we're really going all in on that, and we want to kind of use it as a way to also organize and work with and like further our roots with a lot of local communities. So that's a fun campaign that you can get on the ground floor of right now. There's even a call on Tuesday, the 10th, so August 10th, with Bowman. We'll actually be there. So if we can, we'll put the link there, and that'll be very good to attend.
Yeah, definitely. If you have a link, we'll throw that in the description of this episode. All right, let's move on to the big boy, Andy Cuomo. So there's a million ways we could discuss this, but I guess you always were, this was something the two of us talked about a lot in the last year. Just so in your own words, how did we get here with Andrew Cuomo? This rise and fall, this like Shakespearean, like, I mean, it really seems like he's finished, right? So like, what do you see as the arc of like the rise in the pandemic and the fall of Andrew Cuomo?
I mean, just fucking hubris the whole time, of course.
Absolute hubris.
Yeah, just like a fucking app. Like Cuomo is essentially a monster in like every conceivable way. Cuomo is, I think, like the perfect representative for the Dem Party. They love him because he has done everything he possibly can to keep one of the bluest states in the country from accomplishing anything even remotely good. So the thing about Cuomo also is like, when you don't truly give a shit about like public health or safety in any capacity, you tend to make decisions during a pandemic that fucking kill people. And that's what Cuomo did with the nursing home scandal, especially because, like, he has a lot of friends in that industry who he wanted to like protect their bottom line and profits, which is why he just like sent sick patients to nursing homes, and like tried to, I think, successfully blocked those actual nursing homes and those industries from having any culpability in facilitating that, which is heinous. So he, the thing about him is, I think like the average lib or Dem like still does love and trust the Democratic Party. Like part of the culture war is like, I feel like they're more entrenched with the Dems than they used to be. That's why you get like fucking SNL has just become like Robert Mueller Christmas specials, because it's really playing to that like increasingly developed audience. So it's so bad. But so Cuomo essentially played that role. Like Cuomo was like, he loves the attention. He is a very effective like media manipulator and like player, even though he's got all those weird little like idiosyncrasies. And so he, at the same time of like killing like thousands of elderly, he was like playing the role of like almost like kind of positioning himself like opposite to Trump as this like responsible legislator, like Daddy Cuomo, who's like giving these briefings on like COVID public health, right?
Yeah.
The issue with that is like, the Dems
Televised daily also.
yeah,
So
televised daily with great aplomb. Some of them actually, pretty educational, honestly. Like it wasn't bad programming. It just like neglected to mention like it was also like very much like Cuomo propaganda. And he also kept using them to try to people forget he kept trying to use them to advertise like opening New York State up in like May, Like so
right.
he was still basically like doing the same shit like Republicans were, but like trying to do it with like almost like Sorkin-esque like responsible man style thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then he puts this book out, which is
Yeah. Oh,
absolutely absurd.
hubris at its peak form.
Where from what I understand, he claimed that he defeated the coronavirus, and this book came out in October.
Right as it got into the big ass second spike in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it seems that his hubris is taking him down, but not for perhaps like the reasons that would be expected for someone who has just botched the coronavirus response completely. It's this women coming forward and having legitimate accusations of sexual harassment and sexual assault. I mean, in one case, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that seems to be what's going to take him down
Yeah.
at this time, which I don't know if without his hubris and his his actions in the nursing home scandal, maybe these women wouldn't have come forward. I don't know. It's like
I think it made him a softer target, honestly. Like I think they still may have. I think Boylan, very good chance Boylan would have, and that set off the whole chain of people actually coming out. It's worth noting that the nursing home investigation is ongoing, and so far it's been pretty damning for Cuomo. It's just this one hit first,
and we're talking about this mainly because the Attorney General report came out this week.
Yeah.
From Letitia James, who honestly, you think she's going to run for governor?
I think there's a very good chance. I can't say too much. I don't really know. I'm not from her camp or anything. I think that like you can kind of see undercurrents if she's clearly been considering it. And this is like my like truly like not like educated opinion. I think like right now she's struggling with the fact that like she wants to run, and if she ran, like she'd stand a good chance. But also the issue is like it could essentially kind of cast suspicion on the reports that she's been putting out about Cuomo. So like I think that she's definitely there's a reason she hasn't announced it yet, but she's kind of taking in some money right now. I think she's considering it, but I think that if she was like, I think we'll see if she runs or not, but it's definitely not like something that's off her plate, would be my guess.
Yeah, and we're recording this on Friday, so the big news today is Cuomo's aide, who says he groped her, files a criminal complaint in Albany.
Oh, I missed that.
This was the story that I think originally came out in the Times Union or something.
Albany Times Union, rep my local paper.
Yeah, so
I'm from Albany, New York.
Yes, a proud son of Albany.
Yeah, proud Albanian.
Is that really what they call it?
No, of course not.
Yeah, that would seem inappropriate. So yeah, it's just like so he might be facing criminal charges for the weird sexual stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't see how he runs again, but like knowing him, how does he not run for governor for his fourth term to out governor his own father?
So I think that it depends on if he actually. It kind of looks right now like the state assembly and senate are actually going to oust him, which I'm pleasantly surprised by. So they, way back in like February or March when this broke the first time, right? This whole scandal, they kind of like a lot of individual state senators or assembly people were like very like Cuomo needs to resign, but the leadership, Andrew Stewart Cousins and Carl Hastie, took a far more conservative approach. Andrew Stewart Cousins first said, like, if more people come forward, then we should act. And then more people came forward. So she kind of indicated that he should go. But Hasty, so, these proceedings have to start in the assembly, then go to the Senate, right? So Hasty is the one who would actually be able to, he's the leader of the assembly, actually kick him out. And Hasty basically said, like, Hasty completely like hit the brakes on it, said, like, if if the investigation comes out and finds that these are true, then we'll do it, but we won't do them now. Which is kind of why the momentum on that died, if you're wondering, right? That did suddenly like die out. And now the report is here, and every single like top dem who said when it comes out we'll go is now like, they kind of have to now. Cuomo's popularity is also at its like lowest point. I think he's like 28 to 60 something favorable right now. So he's like negative 30 points.
The
70%.
Cuomosexuals are dwindling.
Yeah, he's at his weakest point. Unions are turning on him. His own people are turning on him. So it actually looks like right now, because of this report, and especially I think because Hasty basically said he's going to kick him out, people are realigning against him in preparation for that, so that they're on the right side of that scuffle, which is also kind of the issue. Like, when you surround yourself by all of these political operators, the second that you become a vulnerability, they're going to turn on you immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a story that we will obviously continue to monitor on Hog Planet. But like, is there any fucking bigger hog than Andrew Cuomo? Just a fucking, just like
New York State's prize hog.
Seriously, he's just a fucking obnoxious piece of shit. Like,
yeah, he's a disgusting. I could talk about him for hours. He is a disgusting guy, even before this stuff.
Okay, speaking of disgusting guys, I'm gonna share my screen here. Let's shift gears, because I feel like we could go on and on about Cuomo, but let's talk about another piece of shit guy.
Oh hell yeah!
We're doing the Crowder video. So Steven Crowder is obviously the piece of shit, cruel right-wing YouTube comedian who is barely a comedian. He seems to really enjoy wearing a dress and trying to get people to debate him, but wearing a dress to insult trans people. It's I don't know. What do you know about Crowder, Josh?
Just one of the absolute, like, I mean, he's in that classic model of like right-wing comedian who isn't talented or funny and is mostly like just kind of an odd weasel that like only exists for like his open cruelty, like so he can brand the cruelty as comedy rather than like even once writing a joke, right? So Weasel Supreme, basically he accidentally got into a debate with Sam Cedar, I think it is, once, and then his heart gave out because he couldn't handle the pressure.
It was like right after that.
It was the day after, I think what it was, like debate Ethan Klein or something, and then Sam showed up, and then he just like immediately left. So and then he like 3 days later has been in the hospital for like 2 months now.
All right, let's watch the video.
Please.
Right, he doesn't have a super obvious defect, but from the inside, this bone is causing the right ventricle of the heart to be smashed.
First thing I'm going to comment here is, how did they get the doctors to do this?
People in America will do anything for attention. Doctors love attention.
So the titanium bar is sliding into his heart.
Yeah.
They have blurred.
Transesophageal echocardiogram.
So it's a transesophageal echocardiogram, we are learning. So there's this like sort of like almost like Inception music playing under this, like very like, I don't know, what do you take from this histrionics? And he's advertising his t-shirts over, I mean,
the t-shirt is so funny.
Oxygen is so funny.
Oh god.
Look at him.
And then he got total.
Oh my god, they had a video of him like coming.
Jesus, I died on live stream and all I got was this lousy t-shirt. Listen on podcast app since
it's like, all podcast promo of him like on oxygen.
Oh my god.
He sounds like Val Kilmer, like in that
like
trailer
shit,
for the new
man.
documentary about him. Yeah,
dude, it's he's still advertising his fucking shit. He's like on his deathbed.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone is doing it for him, but like, oh my God.
Yeah. It's
like-
it's impressive. I mean, like his producer's probably in the hotel, not hotel, the hospital, filming him like, as for content, because that's what you do. But like this, like, I just love this idea that he's this younger guy, but his body is just giving out because like God wants to like kill him.
Yeah. He's so, there's a certain spiritual rottenness you hit where like something has to give, I think. Like normally you see it with like people like fucking Sheldon Adelson who just look like they're melting. But in Crowder's case, I think it came a lot sooner and with a lot more vengeance.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he had
Just
one too many
fucking
cigars,
rotting.
maybe. He's rotting. I love when people share pictures of him with cigars every time he's like,
Oh my God. He looks
my
like a
health is
fucking
taking a turn
child.
for the worse.
He looks like when I was a kid and I'm like joke just like suck on a baby carrot to pretend I was being fancy with a cigar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has earned nothing less than like scorn. And I guess if you're like a medical professional, you can't just like, I don't know, make his life even worse. Like, maybe like, remove a testicle or something.
Slip in like a joke organ.
Yes. Like they probably already gave him the pig's heart, the hog's
Oh
heart.
yeah. Yeah. Give him a new kidney, but one that like kind of smells bad.
Yeah, I imagine his I mean, if Crowder's in a lot of pain, I mean, nothing really funnier than that. I mean, that's pretty great.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is like people will say like, oh, like so much for the tolerant left or whatever the current like things are. But like if you live a lifetime of cruelty, like I think that like that rebounding on you, even just purely by chance, is like pretty funny. Like I don't think it's wrong to laugh at like the misfortune of someone who would like gladly see like untold suffering,
Totally. I mean, he is, you reap what you sow, right? It's like, you put negativity into the world and then your heart just explodes.
Yeah.
All right, but I feel like this is in keeping with that theme. This is a video
it looks like some things
that's been making the rounds today.
Are we doing a good enough job teaching our children what America is and what she represents?
Oh, this is Bash.
So we have
younger parents aren't.
So we have Reagan.
Is the right thing to teach modern children.
We are seeing monuments be destroyed. Cuomo saying it was never that great. America, we're not going to make America great again. Kaepernick. White supremacy.
Of an eradication of the American memory that could.
I mean, what are you seeing here?
Oh, this is just straight fucking fascism. This is like straight like we must protect the future of our children, like 14-word shit. This is about as ghastly as it gets, man. This is like white genocide myth almost.
Yeah, but they throw in Martin Luther King and like a Jackie Robinson, and it's like, oh, see, we love freedom.
What is this?
You'll see. Wait till the end.
Oh God.
It's all right.
We the people.
We the people.
We the people are free.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. They showed Pat fucking Tillman.
Oh my God! They
That
showed
is
Pat
so
Tillman.
Oh.
Pat Tillman followed by George Bush throwing a fucking Jesus Christ.
Pat Tillman. And it's wine ad.
Are you fucking kidding? Honestly,
it's a
brilliant.
Chardonnay ad.
Honestly, fucking
We the
brilliant.
people wine.
Oh my God.
American wine.
Yeah, every brand has become the NRA.
What the fuck is that?
Oh my God. I did not expect that was gonna be wine. God. Oh man. Pat Tillman Orchards.
So I feel like we should give a little background of why it's so offensive to use the image of Pat Tillman to sell this ridiculously, like as you said, fascist product.
Oh my God, man.
So Pat Tillman was a football player in the NFL who left the NFL to go fight in the Middle East in the military. He he wasn't a conscientious objector at a certain point, but he definitely was like, he had a correspondence with Noam Chomsky. He was definitely like a leftist and was like, I think developing some pretty negative ideas about what we were doing over there. And he was killed by friendly fire. George Bush used his death as a sort of, what's the word? Jingoistic
Yeah.
propaganda tool. And Tillman was literally like anti-war. There's a good documentary called the Tillman Story.
Mm.
And that is so heinous, to sell wine with his likeness and include George Bush throwing out the first pitch at a baseball game.
He got a pretty prominent port. I mean, that trailer moved like super fast. Like he got a longer like pan on him than most other things in that
I think
wine
there were
trailer
multiple
too.
images of Tillman, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I only noticed the one at the end, like right before the George W.
Well,
Bush
no,
pitch,
but
that was
there were
still
like, but there were like so many images in there of everything that a right-wing hysterical person is upset about. So why do you think that sells this product? Do you think it like taps into this visceral fear they have about like an American decline?
Wait, can you repeat the question? Sorry.
With all this like fascist imagery, do you think that this is like, do you think this is connecting to something like deep visceral in these people and their fears, and like, to psychoanalyze a little bit, what does it say about these people that these images sell products? It's like, I don't fucking buy stuff like the punch Nazi juice, so it's,
I think the culture war has gotten so out of hand that like people like basically people will just like buy something to like spite the other side, or like buy something because it's their like fucking side. Like there's so many different like absolutely dog shit like Black Rifle coffee brands that are like coffee that supports the troops.
Definitely.
It's kind of interesting because even a lot of that like caring about coffee, I think like 20 years ago used to be like a fairly effeminate thing, and it's moved from that to like, oh no, you got to drink the troops coffee, you can't drink that liberal coffee. And I think both sides have this, but I really feel that like I don't know, like people just like will fucking buy anything on their side of the culture war a lot of the time. Like even like you'll just keep finding new avenues and like new markets to culture war, like fucking wine. I'm sure that like in a year there'll be like a fucking like Mussolini detergent or something.
Yeah, but then what's the liberal version of that?
I think it's just all the ads that are, and I think these are actually a lot better, but because it's easier. I think it's just like in at least the conservative mind, it's all the ads that it's like a Target ad, but it's got like a gay family, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think the Republicans have gone way more insane with it. Like the liberal stuff will be more like just showing like a cute like alternative family or something. It's like all the companies that like put on the trans flag or like the LGBT flag during like LGBT month, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Pride month. And I feel with conservatives it's just like a lot more bombastic. I don't know, like the appeal of like fucking like conservative wine is so weird.
Yeah, I don't imagine it's very good Chardonnay. It's probably extremely expensive.
I bet it's absolutely trash. I feel like there's no way, if they're going through all the trouble to market it this way, that it's like a good product.
No, fuck no.
No, absolutely not.
All right, the next story. Now I only watched like 30 seconds of this, but it is so good. So this is the San Diego County Sheriff's Department's educational video about the dangers of fentanyl.
I'm San Diego County Sheriff Bill Gore. What you're about to see is traumatic body-worn camera footage involving one of our deputies who was exposed to fentanyl during his patrol shift.
Exposed to fentanyl. On July 3rd, 2021, a patrol deputy with the San Diego County Sheriff's Department was exposed to fentanyl while processing drugs at the scene of an arrest. The deputy nearly died after the exposure. I need Narcan!
I'm Corporal Scott Crane from the San Diego
Oh my God.
Sheriff's Department. My trainee was exposed to fentanyl and nearly died. It was our first radio call of the day, and this was Deputy Five Eyes radio call. He found
Okay, just before we go any further, what are you saying is literally impossible? You cannot die from fentanyl from touching it.
Doesn't that, it goes, you like inject it, right? Like you don't, I have not done,
Or
I'm
you
not the most,
snort it. It's
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
not absorbed by
pill.
the skin. Yeah. Like, whenever they do a drug bust and they say like, oh, we have enough like fentanyl to kill like 100 people or 1,000 people. I think they just assume if you like let that out in the open air, it'll kill everyone.
Yeah, if you like just threw it in like a jungle gym. or
Yeah, like
something.
the presence of it is enough to like take out a small school.
found a white substance that he suspected was drugs.
Yeah, I don't.
He
yeah,
absolutely
it's
snorted
counter.
it.
Could be cocaine or fentanyl, dude. It
tested positive
for fentanyl. This stuff's no joke, dude. It's super dangerous.
I was like, hey, dude, too close. You can't get that close to
Oh my
it.
God, I'm
He
so
just snorted
excited.
on the job.
Back, and he collapsed.
No, just from touching it. Look at this.
Oh, that's
fallen.
staged.
He is fall, and they're editing together the two different body
Went
cams.
to my trunk.
Oh yeah.
Came down to him.
So he's
grabbed
giving him Narcan because, oh my
one
God.
nasal spray in one nostril.
Oh my god.
Oh my
another nasal
God.
spray, and
Oh
He's
my
giving
God.
the Narcan to his
remember-
his deputy.
Not feeling right, and then I fall back. And
I mean, this is just like so
What
much
would
fucking
possibly
fake.
compel you to do this?
trying to get him to focus
I-
on just
Dude,
breathing.
they do so many cops do so many fake videos.
That fentanyl,
This
you
is
can't breathe.
wild though. It's because it's like bad acting.
Yeah. Well, no, they're never well acted. You remember that video like a month or two ago of some dude like very tenderly taps like a police detective with like a small twig, and then the guy just falls over.
Sorry.
I don't. Oh yeah, I did see that one.
Yeah, yeah. And it was very they love stage shit like this because they need it to be like they basically there's no body cam video that actually shows them like helping someone. It's all them just fucking brutalizing people for no reason. So they have to make their own productions to like show that they're like helping out or like are at risk. I think
But
that's
this is-
literally what it is. I think it's like cops are marketing themselves.
But this is literal like disinformation. This is
Yeah,
not,
yeah, oh
like,
yeah.
medically sound what they're saying. I
Yeah,
mean,
do-
yeah. It's
do you
good
think
to,
they've
like,
ever had any
use
issue with
Narcan
that?
If someone, sorry, say it again.
Do you think they've ever had an issue with that or like have any hesitation to just like lie about any of this?
Oh, I can't imagine a sheriff's deputy or a cop lying.
True. I
Impossible.
apologize to the boys in blue for casting aspersions on their motives.
Or this sheriff deputy, the boys in beige.
You're okay. Don't be sorry. There's nothing to be
Oh
sorry
my god, the
Don't
most
be
fake
sorry.
fucking wiping a tear.
He's crying.
I'm not gonna let you die. I need Narcan.
I need Narcan.
I'm trying to not let
So
him.
How much Narcan do you need to
I'm
give
trying
him?
to not let him die. Wait,
I got you.
hold
That's
on.
a second, that's at least a second
not let him
Narcan.
go. Like I'm just. I
I'm
want
trying
him-
to.
Sorry about it. I got you, okay? I'm not gonna let you die. I'm not gonna let you die. I need Narcan. I got you. I got you.
I'm trying to not let him go. Like I'm just. I wanted him to.
He's
Wait, is
okay. At best, if this is real, the guy's having like a panic attack,
Yeah. and
right?
This
Like,
is,
like at best.
and
but
probably
even then,
injecting
like,
him with
wha-
a shit ton of Narcan would not be good for him.
But like, why would you? But he's like sitting on his back. For the listeners, I'm hoping you can get a sense of what we're watching here. But and I recommend you go to the YouTube, and if you're listening, then just fast forward to this part with the sheriff's deputy video because it's wild imagery. He's acting like his body's limp, so that doesn't track with a panic attack. But like literally, it is impossible to like get fentanyl poisoning from like being close to it.
Especially within like a second.
Yeah, it was like, don't get too close, buddy.
No.
Like that, like literally he opens the bag and then he like passes out.
Look at this
Oh
freeze
my
frame.
god. Dude, it's like when you like catch a fish and you're showing it off, honestly.
Yeah, it's like a bass.
Jesus.
It's invisible.
This
film.
music.
He would have died in that parking lot if he was alone. Fire department got there, put him on the gurney. His eyes rolled back in his head, and he started to OD again. And he was ODing the whole way to the hospital.
What on earth?
I don't think people realize the severity of just how deadly it really is. I'm Deputy David Five-Eye, and I almost died of fentanyl overdose.
No, you didn't.
One of the greatest threats we currently face is a synthetic.
Hey Dan,
opioid
I
fentanyl,
believe
which is
survivors.
50 times more potent than heroin. Fentanyl overdose.
All right, I think we've seen enough here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that yeah, obviously complete bullshit.
Yeah,
I don't know what else
total
to say.
fucking joke.
Yeah,
I can't even. I don't see how that's not like a Mr. Show sketch or something.
I mean, honestly, yeah. If you just replace like fentanyl with weed, it would be
If
a
you
great
replace-
sketch.
yeah, just put like Bob and David in there and
Yeah. You replace fentanyl with like cigarettes.
yeah. So Bill Gates finally
hell
speaking
yeah.
to Anderson Cooper said his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein was a huge mistake. I had several dinners with him, hoping that what he said about getting billions of philanthropy for global health through contacts that he had made might emerge. When it looked like it wasn't a real thing, that relationship ended. But it was a huge mistake to spend time with him, to give him credibility of being there. You know, there were lots of others in that situation, but I made a mistake.
I mean, where to even his fucking pedophilia trial was public knowledge, you know, like you can't just let's take Bill Gates, like his absolute word that he like really believes that like Jeffrey Epstein is going to bring him billions of dollars. First of all, like you literally know there's a reason your wife is warning you about him. It's because he is on the books in the news in like 2005 pedophile. Like he's just a known pedophile. Second of all, like you have billions of dollars. You don't need to come begging to, and once again, like I don't believe any of this. This is just like taking him at his word, the most like
this is like
possible.
This is pathetic, like PR, like
yeah,
wiping up the fucking horrific crime.
It would be
scene
better
of
for him
the
to not address
Gates.
it. Exactly.
But Melinda Gates has been torching him, so
I
like,
love it.
It's so good.
Yeah, it takes a billionaire to take a billionaire. I wish I feel like it just also I think a big thing about being a billionaire and having the ability to have like unlimited spotlight is you kind of just get used to it. Like you are like a celebrity, but with your own, like you can continue to propagate your own celebrity. You see like Musk and Bezos doing that a lot. I think like Bill Gates would have been so much better if he just did not respond to this and just did not like release this insane statement that then brings attention back to this thing that has left the news cycle. But instead, like he has to double down because he can't stand the idea that like he doesn't have the last word on anything. So he says, "Oh, oops, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk to Epstein," as though he's like some fucking victim and not like almost certainly on the Lolita Express. I mean, we knew he was like, on it, but like participating in full.
You can't say you were duped when literally like this was after the first conviction for sex trafficking.
Exactly. Like why did your wife warn you about him? What did your wife warn you about? Your wife warned you about him, right? What was she warning you about? Obviously, she's warning you about the fact that he's a fucking like, I don't know if he was convicted in 2005. I think he wasn't because that insane, like really sketchy bargain that he did.
Was it?
But
no,
but
that bargain was the conviction.
Yeah. But like basically, like you know, this guy is like on the books, like he's definitely a pedophile. Like he went to court for being a pedophile. Like you are a billionaire, you have access to more information than anyone. You can validate in a second that like, yeah, this dude is clearly like a pedophile who uses money to buy his way out.
Yeah, and that Epstein pleaded guilty in 2008.
Yeah.
And that was set up by Trump's future labor
Acosta,
secretary,
yep.
Alexander Acosta. I'm reading Julie K. Brown's book right now. And she wrote the Miami Herald explosive stories that got this Epstein story rolling again. It's a very good book. Yeah, so Gates, his vaccine, I think hubris could also apply here. What do you think of this? Almost like Cuomo, his reputation's really been diminished at this point in a way that you couldn't have fucking predicted a year ago.
I mean, I think in what way, I guess, like just the
Well,
rise
I just
and
think
fall of
in
Bill
a
Gates?
in a PR way, I think it's a fucking mess for him right now. Versus he was like, "Oh, I'm the vaccine master, and like the news should talk to him because he'll get us out of the pandemic because he's really smart and helps people
Well,
in
he
Africa."
also does that. So I think Cuomo did a lot of his stuff because I mean, I think he also had presidential ambition, so it helped with that. So like, well, a lot of his behavior is self-serving on both their parts. Like it is kind of goal-oriented. I'll say with Cuomo, I think after a certain point, it especially became more just grandstanding. But I think a lot of the initial push was like seriously considering himself like down the line 2024 as a candidate, like strongly considering that. With Bill Gates, like there's a real purpose to him like making himself the guy who talks about the vaccines. I think at the same time, like Bill Gates is like famously like a very arrogant guy, so some of it's arrogance, but like, he fought tooth and nail against like loosening the patents and like, like letting other countries like make these vaccines. He's like very aggressive patent law enforcer, which is how he makes a lot of his money to this day. So, for him, those appearances were basically him protecting his business interests. They were probably hubristic in their own way. He's spent like millions of dollars, like tons and tons of time repainting him from like this like cutthroat business guy into basically like the liberal billionaire, kind of similar to like Buffett, like
Right.
his image is like, I think part of his, as a billionaire, you have your own soft power, and that's kind of what he's done here. The issue is, of course, he's like a scumbag who like wrote into his wedding vows that once a week or like once a year or something, he gets to sleep with his ex in like a cabin. So like he relied on his wife very heavily to clean up his image, but like then continued to be, I think, probably a scumbag in that relationship. So, when she leaves, it's all going to fall apart.
Right.
I think for him, his hubris was not the appearances, but just the fact that like, yeah, you had this one relationship that in a lot of ways was the cornerstone of your entire media strategy with someone who obviously knows like all the monstrous things you've done. Like you should not alienate that person. You should probably like, A, try not to get divorced from them. And B, if you do, like settle generously beforehand so that they don't like take you for everything in divorce court.
Yeah, I don't like to shill for a billionaire, but Melinda Gates, you've done great work in the PR realm this year. I mean, this is honestly
we at
impressive.
Hog Planet, thank you.
Yeah, a Hog Planet extends the warmest thank you to the billionaire Melinda Gates. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Melinda Gates.
For your service in taking down one of our nation's largest hogs, Bill Gates.
A prime hog.
Seriously. So let's close things out by let's make fun of the Marvel NFT thing. I mean,
oh god.
So I've never enjoyed digital comics to begin with. I find that it takes away some of the, some of the kind of connection to the work. I don't mind reading ebooks, but with comics, I like to hold it in my hand and flip the pages and stuff. So when I read that Marvel was launching NFTs of like classic stuff, that was Spider-Man, I think specifically, right?
Yeah, the whole Spider-Man NFT
yeah.
line.
What's your take on this this latest development?
So first of all, online comics rule. I read like 100 comics a day. That's like real. Yeah, I showed you, man, with facts and logic. So they're great, and I, like to actually own the amount of comics I read, I would need like a full room in my apartment just to hold them. I at this point I've just erased the existence of libraries clearly. But so I want you to say that you're wrong, and I don't want that to be the official position of Hog Planet.
Fine. I can see. No, I concede that position. Fine.
Thank you.
Fine.
I'm glad that we can engage in good faith here. As for the NFT stuff, I mean, like, it's just like, it's like basically what they're doing is they're doing what the housing crisis was in 2008, but with like cultural touchstones. Like they're just making like these synthetic copies of this like media and like marketing it. But I don't get why people, like, no one, I think at this point, almost no one except for the people who are already Bitcoin weirdos, like believe NFTs are worth anything. It makes a lot of sense for this company to sell an NFT because an NFT is not like ownership of the property. It's not like, how Sony had ownership of Spider-Man movies, which is something extremely valuable. It's like you can just kind of say that you have rights to this one piece of digital media, right? But those rights they don't extend like a copyright. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a certificate that says that it's like those certificates that say that you own a star that used to be all the rage in the 90s.
Wouldn't this be like, it's like you order something on Amazon and then you get a picture of it digitally.
Yeah, exactly.
Get a thing.
Exactly. You just get a little picture and a certificate saying that you own this. And it makes sense for these companies to just like fucking sell these because, if
Jack Dorsey sold his first tweet. Did you see that?
Yeah. Oh god, I did see that. Yeah, because if you can get like $2 million just like selling someone like a printout certificate that says like you have the rights to like a digital, not even the rights, you just like quote unquote own a digital Spider-Man comic, then like, yeah, like I guess like make that money, like why not? It's crazy that people are still like buying these. I guess it's just like because there's such a crypto economy, which is just like this constant like swapping like who's holding the bag of these assets. Like everyone either is a true believer or like thinks they'll be able to like unload their assets before it goes down. But it's like it's crazy. Not that the companies do it, because once again, it's literally free money, but that people keep going for these. That like companies.
But it's crazy
like,
that people fucking
yeah.
Why? I don't know. People just I guess have money to burn.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't entitle you to anything. I think a lot of the NFT boom was actually like people didn't spend that much money during COVID. So
I was gonna say it's such a pandemic thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like you're already half crazed, and you are like upper middle class, rich enough that like you didn't lose your job, so like you actually have money to burn. So you're either gonna like buy up like wood or you're gonna buy like NFTs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's just what like people have money to burn, so that's what they're doing.
Well, you could spend your money in way better ways, like Fortnite skins.
I mean, honestly, yeah, because then I think it's fun to have a little skin of a character, like that's like something you can actually do. So it's small and it's kind of a scam in its own right, but it's something you can actually do something with, and it's not claiming that you're going to be able to like double your investment over it.
No.
Yeah.
And plus, I mean, we didn't even talk about the environmental degradation it causes.
Not good. I think sometimes overstated.
Like what, these server farms?
Yeah. They're like legalizing in upstate New York, like fucking peaker, like awful gas plants that were closed to come back online. And they're like, this generates a ton of heat, and they're just pumping that heat in like fucking rivers. And they're like, the climate impacts of that in like some of these local like upstate ecosystems are really questionable. I mean, this is like China and like a lot of other governments are like banning these because they're just so wasteful. Like also, so the like a lot of the products, one thing that is not talked about a lot, all the products that you actually like will make to mine Bitcoin, right? Are designed so all they can do is mine Bitcoin. So they are like useless at literally anything else. So you're creating these like these server farms of like oftentimes just completely useless machines that are like destroying the environment, and you can't even use them for anything else. They're like hardwired to just make Bitcoin or like whatever your crypto equivalent that you want is. They're dedicated crypto machines.
I think we have to say NFTs are very very hog-like.
Yeah.
Is that a broom or like a Swiffer?
Oh yeah, I like to play with things in my hand, so I've just been fucking around with this broom.
Why don't you air guitar as we say goodbye here?
I'm gonna flute it.
Oh, I like that. The old recorder trick.
Exactly.
All right. Let's wrap it up here because I think we're probably over time. Josh Crashour has been the Hog Planet guest today. And Josh, anything you'd like to plug? Again, we will add any links you'd like into the show description for people to get involved with your DSA working group.
I think, yeah, I'll send you links. I think like in general, this is the best time to get on the ground floor. A lot of these efforts, they're not going to go away. They're only going to ramp up, and we're going to need to fight these fights for the next like years to come. I'd also say just in general, immediate campaign, Green New Deal for public schools. It has a lot of support behind it. It's a national campaign. The New York City is a very prominent branch, so we'll be doing a lot for it. Like we have literally a call with Bowman on the 10th, which I think is going to be really good. I think if you're kind of interested in these politics, this is a very good way to get started, and we'll make sure the links are in the description.
Yes, sir. I want to plug my Instagram where I am posting paintings. Josh has purchased several at this point.
I'm a notable patron of Hog Planet.
This isn't Hog Planet. This is my art.
True. I am also on the Hog Planet Patreon though, so I am in many ways a patron of Dance.
Which I haven't charged anyone for in over a year. I think. I should just turn that back on and like collect like, whoever's still on there, like $17 a month.
Yeah, start selling Hog Planet NFTs.
Yes, I'm out of the lighters, but maybe I'll get more. DM me if you want them on Twitter at Spuventacular. Do you want to plug your Twitter, or are you anonymous on there?
I don't want to plug it's just a personal Twitter.
That's fine. You post.
It's not even very
good. It's fine. It's fine. You're not going to get followers off this anyway. They don't.
I didn't think I would, but I don't.
They think you're a damn pig.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Josh,
I didn't speak on script.
I wanted to have you on for a while because I wanted to talk about Andrew Cuomo, and you were the person I felt who, knew what was going on, and I'm glad that we waited until now when he's fucking.
Great timing.
He might go down.
I mean, it's difficult to feel like the hope because especially like you're always used to things like.
I mean, with Trump, right? With Trump, it was always like he's finished, and then
yeah. But I think with Cuomo, it's like literally every single ally that he has is turned against him. The people with the direct power to very easily get rid of him are saying that they're going to get rid of him on like Monday. I think so. I think, and like there's another report after this too. Eventually, it's going to come out with the nursing home stuff. So like, on the very off chance this doesn't take him out, like I don't know. I think I don't believe it when I say it, but like trying to think rationally, I think he's done. I think he's gone.
Please let him rot under a bridge somewhere where he may get swallowed by a swamp monster and feel the radioactive torturous fangs sink into his Italian pierced nipples.
Horrid.
Yeah.
Almost Heronius Boschian almost. This picture he painted.
I fucking hate that fucking guy. I have to say.
Oh yeah, I mean he's been like the number one reason that like things are not substantially better in New York politics, despite how like blue the state is. Like if you can point to like there are a lot of other players here, but if there's one single target, it's Cuomo all the way.
Well, yeah. Thanks so much for coming on, Josh. This has been really, really fun for me to discuss these topics with you. And maybe by the time we're done recording this, Steven Crowder will have some botched surgery.
Hell yeah. Fingers crossed. I'm checking Twitter as I speak, but all I can see is like an owl died in Central Park.
Goodbye, Steven Crowder. Goodbye, Andrew Cuomo.
Goodbye, owl.